There's a great old Christian hymn that says, "What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer." I love those lyrics. I can say to you with a deep sense of certainty that Jesus is my best friend. He's a friend like no other. But it's the following words that have captured my heart for so many years. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what a privilege. The dictionary defines a privilege as a special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available to a special person or group. First, you need to know that when Jesus is your friend, you are special, really special. He walks with you and talks with you. You have been given a special right and granted a grace immunity. You've been saved from the penalty of death and given access to the very throne of the living God. You can come into His presence of the one who created all of this. Wow, I think it's a privilege to come to such a beautiful place like this. But the great privilege is coming into the presence of the one who gives everything life. Think about it. God is holy, absolute purity. God is majestic, the creator of the universe. And God is loving, the one who gave His only Son, Jesus. He bore our sins and griefs so that we can have a relationship with God. That's why it's a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Many years ago, I was asked to preach in the Fiji Islands at the Prime Minister's prayer breakfast. I felt so inadequate as I spoke to the Prime Minister, to members of Parliament, and Supreme Court justices. My wife and I stayed at a local hotel, and early the next morning my phone rang. It was the Prime Minister. "Sammy," he said, "could you come to my office? I really need to talk with you." I hopped out of bed, got dressed in my best attire, and immediately caught a taxi to the Prime Minister's office. As I walked into his office, I knew that this was a special privilege. I wasn't someone with wealth or power. It was such a great privilege to have an early morning private meeting with the leader of a nation. I've thought back on that meeting many times. I would never have turned down a meeting with the Prime Minister. Every time I reminisce about it, I am reminded that the greatest privilege that you and I have is a daily early morning meeting with the Prime Minister of all Prime Ministers, the President of all Presidents, the King of all Kings, and the Lord of all Lords. Our friend Jesus invites us into His presence. Oh, what a privilege when you awaken in the morning, get dressed, make yourself ready, and come into the presence of royalty. Come into the presence of the one who created the ocean. Come into the presence of the one who hung the stars in space. Come into the presence of majesty, the one full of glory and the only one to be honored. Our friend Jesus says, "Come." Oh, what a privilege.